I know I'm late this week, but I have good reason. Hi, welcome to the When Calls the Heart after show here on JLJ Media. I watched the episode last Saturday, and I've been trying to get to this to do it. And so I had a roof cave in my house. So part of my roof cave in. So I had sheets of water coming in my house. So I was dealing with that for the last week, and the rain just ended this morning. So it's just been something else. So I've been dealing with that all week, and I talked to a roofing company, which I got one here in LA. We need the rain, we needed it. My garden, I know it's really happy, but the inside of my house isn't. So I have lots of water damage and all kinds of stuff going on, and I need a new roof at the tune of $30,000. So money I don't have, but God is good. He will provide. We're gonna work it out. I'm gonna figure out a way to work it out because you need a roof over your head, literally, to live. That's why I like watching this show because this show calms me down, and I get to like learn some life lessons and have some fun. That's real life be a little crazy, but this is be good. I'll be good. So, hello, Hearties, episode 6. We're halfway through the season of season 12. It was a special Saturday episode. Very smart because the Super Bowl was Sunday. Very smart. And I got to watch it. And so, a fun episode. We got Melissa Gilbert, royalty, royalty. She got to work with Michael Landon Sr. and Jr. How ironic is that? But it's royalty and everything. She's on the show. We also now we're in fall, and we're really following Allie and her journey. And then we got Elizabeth and Nathan having some cookie moments due to some cold and flu issues. Um, so one of the storylines, and it's become, I guess it's like a lot of shows have like an A story, a B story, C story, kind of that. I think guess Allie is kind of a B story because she's not really, she's getting more and more attention. And the actress, I keep praising her. She's so great. I gotta get her on the show. I've never met her. I gotta get her on the show. Um, and we're seeing Allie nurse her Wyatt situation and start to embrace her Oliver situation, which they are after this episode. How can you not like them together? They're the cutest like couple like ever. I think they're so sweet together. We haven't had anything since um I'm sorry, somebody texts me as I'm talking. Of course, my phone is not on silent. Silence your phones. No. It's we haven't had anything since Clara and like young love. God, that's a long time. I'm thinking about going back to Clara, going back then. Yeah, I think we have anything since we haven't anything since then. Really, not really, really. There were some attempts, but anyway, you guys will tell me in the comments. But anyway, so it's been fun to watch her journey because she's quite the leading young lady. So and I love that she's also spirited. And one of the things about this show that I really noticed in this episode, strong women. When the show started that way, remember? It started out that way. It's always been the women are as strong as the men. And I can only imagine a real life as I'm looking right now. I've been looking into my own history, my family history, and I'm in like the 1920s, 1900s, and a little bit of late 1880s and 90s. The women in my family were strong too. I mean, I knew my great grandmother, one of them, so that's the farthest back I can go, like knowing them, and she was strong. She was 4 foot nothing, but she was stronger than the rest of us. I mean, I imagine these women back then had to be stronger and strong as the men. And this show always shows in a positive light. So I see why women love the show. Because it shows you in a positive light. Not all shows do that. I do the soap operas, and the soaps are almost the opposite. So this is a nice change. But with Allie, especially, um, she's decided they're continuing that whole project. And so she's really worried about the salmon. And because they're not swimming upstream and the water is just really gross. And she embarks on a mini adventure that actually could change the course of some things in the region, which is a great message to people. Like, you fight for something that you believe in, you gather information, you do all the things you're supposed to do, that you might be able to affect change. And I think it's still true today, right? Still true today. And her and Oliver, who's just like the sweetest thing on earth, of course, they they hang out and he's gonna go along with her to help test the water and figure out what's going on. And through the course of this adventure, which includes a little trespassing, we see some boots. My friend who's in the soap board always says, when they show you something, hold on to that memory because it'll probably be used later. They don't just do stuff for giggles. Like it's gonna be that those boots, that means something later. And it turns out the cattle. See, it's all about that. See, it's all about that land, that time period, all that land up there. It's like having the cattle crossing is messing up the water, which is making the water warmer, creating algae, salmon like cold water, and then now the bears and wolves that she's all into can't eat. It's like a whole ecosystem going on. And I love the way they explain it. It's just so simple. I mean, if anybody can, my 3-year-old can understand it. It's as simple. While they're having a moment, it was interesting because I found myself yelling at the TV because he said, we learned some more about Oliver. His mother is in prison, and it affects how he looks at himself. And I thought, wow, that's a great message to kind of work on. And I kept saying, Allie, tell him your father's in prison too. She didn't then because she was still, she felt some kind of way. And then she kind of was like, well, let's go back to home or whatever. They definitely have a moment. Have a moment. Um, but it's like there's a fun part where Nathan and I had 2 daughters, so I understand this. Nathan really is trying to figure this out, like how to help her get through the broken heart thing and how to move forward. And Elizabeth at first was able to help him a little bit, but then she got sick. Couldn't really do much with that. But it's later she realizes she should be kind to Oliver, obviously. And she opens up to him at the stable. Say about it, that Nathan's not her dad. He adopted her. He's his uncle. And the whole thing that her dad's in prison. I thought, there you go. There you go. What a cute storyline. So they had a moment at the end there too. So I'm looking for. I'm all about them. They can get together. I'm all about them. Small little tidbit. We got a little piece of Eva. One, the hilarious Rosemary. She only plays one song on the piano, I guess, over and over again. But she's mysterious. So when one of her trunks came up, and Lee's like, he couldn't open it. He's like, what's up to her to open it and everything. And she looks at it, and it's men's clothes. I have no idea what her story could be. I mean, I was trying to think, well, it gives us a clue of something, but I'm like, but then I was like, didn't May Sue come to town too because she was running from her ex-husband? Like, is there a, I mean, there's some, it's a common theme back then where the women are trying to get with these crazy men. If that was going on, was he an ex-husband or abusive boyfriend or what did she do? So I'm really curious, yeah, what's going to happen with that because I'm like, I don't get it. So so we don't know what's going on with her. With that, I'm trying to think of some of the smaller storylines. Someone in the comments last week mentioned this because I said, "Oh, if the Canfields have a story, like where's their story?" And actually, and you're right. Whoever I forgot who wrote in the comment. Thank you for writing in the comments, but you're right. I think it's coming up with Angela going to the Schwartzman College, and interesting that Joseph went behind Minnie's back to get the brochure and book a tour. Watching them navigate that maturely as a couple was very nice. Because Joseph knows. It's funny, he's navigating that world. He knows that it's his daughter, and Minnie is apprehensive of her going off. Minnie's like, I want her to have her own life, and I totally believe that. It just must be scary. She's blind. We don't back. This is not today. This is back then, and so I see why she's apprehensive, why she's a little nervous about it. Plus, just your baby, your firstborn going off somewhere by ourselves. Um, but Joseph's so positive, just like we raised her to be this way. She takes after you, all these things, and I just they're so loving with each other, and I just love when he sat down and goes, okay. She looks at the brochures. It looks like very nice. It mentioned Helen Keller, and it said, should we pray on it? And she says, always. And I was got a little tear in my eye. I have to admit, I like that. That was just like that's what they would do. He's a preacher, and she's the wife, and of course I talk to God all the time for things. And she was like, let's sit down and pray about it. And she's like, always, let's do that. And because it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be, oh my God. So it's probably gonna be one of those sad, heart-wrenching scenes later. Oh my goodness. But it's amazing when he showed the kids, all of them, they're just growing up before our eyes. I mean, Opal is just grown. I mean, just it's like my own kids and whatever grandkids. It's just crazy. You're right. So I think that's coming up. Um, the Melissa Gilbert. Well, we'll talk about her last. We'll get to her second to last. We'll get to her second to last. Joseph and Fiona had a moment. Actually, I think did they, I don't remember them ever really talking. It was kind of funny. He walks in while she's sweeping up the place and talking how she's gonna sell and everything. And I was like, they don't really have scenes together very often. Um, and Fiona was kind of a side character at first today on this episode. Going today on this episode, she helps Rosemary with the radio and all that. But it was like it was a real moment, and she said something. Here we go. She talks about her proposal. She says, I know what I want. I just don't know how to get there. I felt that. Did you feel that, Hardee's? I had times in my life where I felt that. It's like I have an idea, kind of what I want. I just don't know what the pathway is there. And I thought, wow, that's very interesting. And he says, doing God's work requires sacrifice, but not too much. Equally as profound, and I hope I said that correctly. If I got the wording wrong, you can tell me in the chat. I was like both profound things, and I have a lot of friends going through that. Whether it was the strikes we're on and trying to get work, whether it's the fires, whatever's going on. It's everybody's people like crossroads, and you kind of know what you want to do, but it's like what exact way do you get there? And sometimes things present themselves. Like I always say, not all money is good money. Not all opportunities are good opportunities. They may disguise themselves like that at first, but you have to really dig deep in there and find what fits for you. It's so true. So true. But I'm just like, oh, that's a nice little moment. Um, oh, yeah, there's a yes, there's another. Okay, yes. Um, so the two big storylines obviously are the last three big things that really happened throughout this episode. They're probably the A stories and B stories. Rosemary creating the daily dialogue with Fiona and deciding to use the kids because she had to take over because Elizabeth got sick. We never see Elizabeth sick, it was kind of funny. And take over the kids and bring them to Lucas with their issues. And it was really good. And Edwin's so funny, he doesn't want them to do it all that stuff, but Lucas does it. And Allie's whole findings, the map and everything, which that's what softens her to Oliver, really made an impression on Lucas. But I have to laugh at the beginning when they were clearing out the office so you can have an office there again. All the hazelnuts. We saw Henry for a second, calling the kids squirrels, and that all stuff was kind of funny too. Like that. Well, that was kind of fun. I'm loving the way they talk about this radio thing. And are you going to keep the newspaper and it's radio? It's very cute because we're just laughing, going, well, radio will last for another at least 80 years. I mean, I know there are newspapers out there. And the other day, I was almost bought a newspaper. It's so expensive. Are you in your neighborhood in LA? The LA Times. It's not like it used to was. I'm like, that's kind of, and we have a thing called Daily Breeze here in South LA, and I'm like, they're kind of expensive, and they're so like thin. I used to love newspapers. My stepfather, who may he rest in peace, loved newspapers, and I almost bought one to read it. Actually, read it. I mean, I'm just like, I don't know. I hate it. I'm old school, I like the old school stuff. But him talking about that, and of course, I love radio. I mean, I'm a radio guy. As I started on radio, as I'm celebrating next week, not this week, but next week, I'm celebrating 10 years as a video and TV and radio host. I can't believe it. And I'll talk more. I'm gonna do a show on that. It's about how, yeah, but I can't believe it. I'm celebrating 10 years this month, uh, doing this, and I have to think AfterBuzz TV, where this all started for me, and Adrenaline Radio, where it started for me on radio, same year, I wouldn't be here. And just goes to show, I was in my late 40s, you guys, in my late 40s when I started. God bless America. I'll tell you that. So Melissa Gilbert is Inspector Miguel, and her and Bill trained a long time ago. Did you see chemistry? I saw chemistry. I saw chemistry, which is so funny because did not expect this at all. Completely, they touched on it. Oh, they completely touched on it. They brought up he brought up Nora. I'm like, oh my God, he brought up Nora. And then she had a child. All this, they brought up all this old stuff, but they talked about how she wanted him. Apparently, yes, she wanted him, and he wasn't. But he knew it, but he was in the middle of something else. Bill's retired, and he's just there to help people. And they decided to go continue this search, this storyline we're having, this through line about the Great American Train Robbery. They're going to go see this guy, Sonny Garrison, to ask questions about Toddy Davis. And I love the old trains. I love all that stuff. I do. I love it. And that's when they start talking. And she mentions like all the cadets, and see, again, strong woman. All the cadets saw her as a woman. And it was, she said, except for you, or whatever. I was like, oh, I thought I saw chemistry, but there's some chemistry in there. And he's like, no, I noticed. But later he explains why. And I feel like there could be some for Bill. I mean, we want Bill to have a relationship. I do. I want to have a romance. Now, he's one of my favorite characters. He's just so cantankerous, but he cares too at the same time. He can be a little grumpy. That's curmudgeonly. That's fine. But they do go and talk to this guy. They work really well together and stuff out information. And this is fun. Like that was fun. I love me some Bill and Rosemary, but this was a good little offshoot. I love this whole story. So I'm all in with that. Then we got Elizabeth is sick. And we get to see, and so they kept mentioning Stern's. Oh my God, I wrote this down. Stern's cold remedy. Well, folks, it was real. Some of you guys may do it already. I thought it sounded familiar. It was a real cold medicine back in the day, and they have stuff out there now, and they use things like peppermint, eucalyptus, things like our healing properties. But there is a Stern's cold medicine out there. So it's kind of funny that was something they were talking about. They kept showing it. Her dreaming. I was like, this was something new for When Calls the Heart. Different camera angles and kind of like, whimsical stuff, and her being loopy on everything. And first, Rosemary trying to help her with the grilled cheese sandwich and her trying to do stuff for Allie. But there was some shade thrown, folks. A little shade, and I had to chuckle later when Nathan was coming in to check on her and stuff. And when they were talking about Allie and broken hearts, Elizabeth tells a story about her first broken heart in high school and mentions the guy and stuff. And she asked him, what was your great, broken heart from great love? And he says, besides you. Oh, I was like, shady, 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 shady. I had chuckle because it did work out. Obviously, they're together, but I was like, oh. go on writing. Did I expect you guys to say that in there? They're not pretending that that didn't happen. So that's kind of a good thing, right? They're not pretending. Um, yeah, that's fun. But she feels better. In the end, of course, he gets sick. He has a weird dream about her too, and then he gets sick at the end. That's how it ends. It was a fun episode. We're halfway through the season, and I feel like we're doing good. We have some, we're seeing lots of Nathan and Elizabeth, so we know that they're out there doing stuff. Allie's a great storyline. Fiona, we're curious what she's going to do. Happy to have her back, wherever it is. Wait to see if Henry gets anything because he's so far he's not really. Well, he and Joseph really get together, do that hazelnut business and stuff when they do something together because he's not really. He's kind of just there as a go-to person. I know the town is so big that you want to see some of these storylines, and I still want Faith to have a storyline. She's not really having a storyline. I like to have her have a storyline. But I love the show. I do. And it was the bright spot of my week besides my roof caving in stuff. That was my bright spot. So I'll take it. I guess like this Sunday, another episode. I'm gonna try to get it out sooner like I normally do. I'm trying to do because now it's not raining anymore in LA and I'm getting my roof, I'm gonna get it fixed. So it'll take about a month. Um, but hopefully I'll be able to watch my show in peace and give you guys a reaction to it. Halfway through the season, kids. I love you guys. Talk to you next time.